If you struggle with your sleep, if you have a hard time falling asleep, if you have a hard time staying asleep, if you have a hard time not waking up in the morning and having that brain go vroom, 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 then this workshop is for you. It's a short amount of time for a little bit of money for you to have huge results in your sleep and in your health. I'm Dr. Jenny Tufenkian, naturopathic physician, primary care doctor in the state of Oregon. I would love to see you in the workshop. Come alive so you can get all of your questions answered. You're going to come away with a checklist and tools and strategies so that you can create your own individualized plan to boost your sleep and boost your health. Sign up on the link below. I'll see you there. So this is all about how you said it. It's involving the circadian rhythm. We really want to start planning out our sleep by starting at what we do throughout the day. How we wake up in the morning, how we move throughout the day, how we eat. All of those things are going to have huge impact on how you sleep at nighttime.
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Saylor. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Saylor.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode. Oh, my goodness. I wanted to talk to my dear friend, Dr. Jenny Tufenkian. She's a naturopathic physician and functional medicine educator, and one of her specialties is sleep. And I don't know about you, but this time of year, I feel like I'm running on empty. And also the other thing I've noticed, I've been hearing a lot from you guys, that whether you have long COVID or autoimmune diseases, that you've had sleep disruptions since either getting COVID and recovering, or during your autoimmune recovery, you've had sleep disturbances. So that's why I wanted to talk to Dr. Jenny, we call her, to find out more about sleep and what can we do with these kinds of things. I'm just going to bring her on really quick. So thanks for being on the show, Dr. Jenny.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on again. It's always such a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's so exciting. I haven't seen you in a while, so it's lovely to see your face.
Likewise.
Now, this time of year, it's kind of weird because where I live, by 4 o'clock, it's dark. And I'm noticing that I'm ready for bed by 6. But if I go to bed by 6, I'm up at 2. So, I mean, I just feel like my whole rhythm is completely off.
Yeah.
Let's just talk a little bit about sleep disturbances, and then in a little bit, we'll get into this idea of if we have long COVID or if we've had our immune system disrupted. But let's just talk about sleep in general and why it's so hard.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting thing, right? I mean, we used to sleep so much more than we do now. And I believe it was Edison who said, you can sleep when you're dead. I think that was his, I think the quote came from him, which is so interesting because he was the one that invented, or his light bulb invention is the one that got the patent first anyway, hit the market. And because we have so much light that we're sitting here and we tend to stay up way too late and just not get the sleep that we need.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about light. I did a light survey of my bedroom. I didn't think, when I first heard about this idea of too much light, I didn't think I had a lot of light in my bedroom because I have those darkening drapes and the whole thing. Right. But I realized that my air purifier has a blue light. My alarm clock has 2 colored lights. I had all these little points of light all around the room that were a surprise to me, how light the room really was.
It really adds up, and light bends. So even if you have those curtains, I find it's really tricky to get the light to not bend around the curtain and still come into the room and still reflect. But Beyond all the sleep hygiene thing that a lot of us already know about darkening a room, there's a lot that we can do to impact our own body's rhythms so that we can sleep better. And I think the truth is that when we just kick back and don't try to assert a lot of impact on what we're doing around our sleep, it's easy to get very severely sleep deprived in this culture right now.
Oh, I don't think it takes much. And I used to be the kind who think I'll make it up on the weekend.
Yeah.
That's probably a false tale that you can make it up on the weekend, right?
I've honestly read different research on that in terms of, oh yes, you can make it up, and no, you can't. I was just actually looking at a research paper where they're looking at mice to see, if you torture them and sleep deprive them, and then you get them to make up their sleep, and what happens. And they still have altered metabolism after they make up the sleep. So even though you may feel better after making up the sleep, it still impacts your stress response. It still impacts your immune response. It still impacts the way that your body metabolizes sugar. And, it has a huge long-lasting impact on us. And I'm like, and I think back to my past, and I mean, I used to be one of those people that was like, felt so proud of myself because I could just go for nights and nights and nights without sleeping and thought I was a rock star because of it. And now I think that, I was probably digging a hole for myself. And so when I got sick, it probably helped contributed to my falling into a chronic fatigue pattern, right? And being one of those people that's susceptible to more prolonged chronic disease because of how I just took advantage of myself. I just didn't, I just figured, oh, I can stay up for 3 nights. That's cool. I can
I never quite did that. But what I found, it was when I was in grad school, I was a new mom as well, which I don't recommend, guys, but it is what it is. I was getting by maybe 2 hours. Like I would work all day, come home, take care of the kids and then all that. And then they'd be tucked in and I'd go study. It would be 2 a.m. and I'd be up by 4 or 5 a.m. to start the day over again. I don't think I was ever quite the same after that.
Oh, I'm sure you weren't. No, absolutely. I mean, what's happening when you did that and I did my stuff where I was staying up late, or not, or just going for a night without skipping whole nights of sleep.
Oh, wow. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, I was actually really good at it. I would have been a great, OBGYN doctor when I was 20. I was really good at it. I thought I was anyway. They also think that sleep deprivation is like drinking alcohol. And so your perception of how good you are is probably altered. So maybe I was a mess after being sleep deprived. But what's happening to our brains in that time is we're getting an incredible amount of inflammation in the brain. And we're really not able to think as clearly as we would be if we actually got the sleep. There are things that happen when we sleep. There's an actual dumping of toxic stuff in the lymphatic system in the brain when we sleep. And so what happens if we're not getting that rest is that garbage is just building up and building up and building up. And we now know that it's that garbage that does have a huge impact on chronic disease and on dementia issues, Alzheimer's, things like that. So it's so like we were not doing ourselves favors.
Well, what a metaphor. I was flashing on one time where I was in a very large city, which will remain nameless, that was having a garbage strike.
Oh, yes. Gee, which one could that possibly be? I totally, yes.
Well,
yes.
they're probably all the same, but it's such a metaphor. That's the first thing I flashed on was like, oh my goodness, all these smelly big black bags in my brain.
That's really funny because I've actually used that exact metaphor of that exact strike for when I talk about the lymphatic system and how if we're not doing things to help move the lymphatic system in our body, it's the same thing. So it's kind of great that you flashed on the same image. Love that.
Well, I think some of these images that have this big impact on us stick with us longer.
For sure.
We'll remember them. And
right.
Something that if you said, oh, it's all sunshine and roses, but you're just kind of a little loopy, I don't think it would have the same impact of me seeing these and smelling these and all of the visceral things that happened as I was there walking in the city.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about some of the things about when I was recovering from COVID, as you know, they said brain inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said brain inflammation. Is that the same inflammation? Is it the same, like lack of sleep and then recovering from a virus? Is that all? Is all brain inflammation brain inflammation?
Brain inflammation is brain inflammation. If you have a traumatic brain injury, you bonk your head, or if you have a history of bonking your head, well, let me just say it this way. If you have traumatic brain injury, people who have that once are at much higher risk if they bonk their head again to have another higher level traumatic brain injury. So one person can just hit their head against the door and it's not a big deal. The person who has a history of having a traumatic brain injury hits their head on the door the same amount as the person who hit it on the head and it's not a big deal. It is a big deal for them because their brain has already created this pattern of inflammation once. It's already set at this action potential and ready to fire for any incident of injury or inflammation. And so that sets people up for this higher level of intensity. So, I have a kid who's had a number of concussions and he just bonks his head and he has symptoms of having a concussion, even though it's a mild bonk. What we found is it doesn't matter to the brain what kind of injury it has. If you have a history of brain inflammation from an illness, and then you bonk your head, it's easier for you to get symptoms of having like a concussion, and vice versa. If you have a history of bonking your head and then you get a virus, it's easier for you to have that inflammation. So what I'm really saying is, yes, inflammation is inflammation as far as the brain's concerned, and how the brain deals with inflammation is different than your ankle. So if you sprain your ankle, it swells up and there's kind of the 72-hour window where it's going to swell up the most it can. Now, your brain in an acute injury, if you bonk it, it's going to have that same 72-hour window. You don't know how much you get until the 72 hours is over. But your body has the ability, with the way the circulation is for the ankle, to actually take the inflammatory byproducts out of that ankle more efficiently than it does from the brain. What happens when you have inflammation in the brain is that it becomes there are local immune response to the brain starts actually eating away at your nerve cells, your brain cells themselves. It actually starts to attack that. Right. Yeah, exactly. Rather than just moving the inflammatory materials out, it's actually attacking the tissue. It's like having a swollen, spraining your ankle and actually having your immune system be attacking your tissues, like your ligaments and your tendons and the things that make your ankle your ankle. And that's what happens in the brain. And I understand this is really, really scary. And I don't mean to be freaking you out, those of you that are listening to this.
Yeah, I think it sounds scary, but wow, I'm learning so much. It explains so much about other people I know that have had several head injuries and why a simple bonk on a cupboard can set them back to bed.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But it's kind of revolutionary to think about the fact that whether, like as a clinician, if I'm taking a history on somebody, I want to know about their concussion industry. Even though my focus is working with people who have chronic disease, I specialize in working with people with chronic fatigue and long COVID. Part of my history is finding out about their head bonks because that's going to impact how their brain responds to other traumas, such as having an infection that happens or toxins that happen to cross the blood-brain barrier. Now, what we know about COVID is, can we say that? Can we say that?
Yeah.
The
it's
COVID
not a dirty word.
Come on. All right, good.
It's not a dirty word.
So the thing about this infection is those ACE2 inhibitors are all over the place, and including on nerve fibers that go into the brain and parts of the brain. And so that little sneaky virus has the ability to go to lots of different places in people's bodies, which is why so many people have so many different kinds of symptoms in acute COVID and then also in long COVID. It kind of depends on where it landed in your body, and it's going to go to where you're weak. So that's what we find. So, myself, when I got COVID, it definitely triggered my chronic fatigue, and I could feel it go into my nervous system, into my brain, because that's where I've already had previous trauma from the mold that I have had contact with and from all the other things that took me down the chronic fatigue path. So you can kind of see how that would begin.
And that explains so much to me, especially this idea of somebody, certain white coat authorities here too will remain nameless, like, you don't have long COVID because, and they went through this short little checklist. But it explains to me because I didn't fall into those categories. It's interesting to me how we can find out how important our past history is. I'm wishing I had always taken better notes of my past history, because now when I first got my autoimmune disease, they said, so tell us your past history. I had to really stop and reconstruct things. And I don't remember ever putting in all the little head bonks I got from playing sports or.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, somebody probably wouldn't have thought to ask you, gee, how much sleep did you get when you were in graduate school and taking care of your kids, right? I mean, nobody would have thought to ask that. And I think partly a lot of physicians don't really value the importance of some of these things. And going back to the sleep piece, they really don't value the importance of sleep because guess what? They too are severely sleep deprived. There is a badge of honor in a lot of different professional cultures around just pushing yourself and not being willing to stop or slow down or to take a rest. It's like there's this huge badge of honor around it. And wow, is that ever entrenched in the medical peoples, including naturopathic physicians? I mean, it doesn't exclude us. It includes us because we're all part of this culture where we feel like we have to continually be doing and producing to be considered to have, have good self-worth. And when it comes to rest, that's the antithesis of that. And I think we need to really realize how we're shooting ourselves in the foot here. And we need to step up and take ownership of what it really means to take care of this body that we've been gifted to live in. And what do we really want to be doing with our time, with our days, with our nights, so that we can take care of ourselves, so that we really can be doing the good work that we're meant to be doing here.
Oh, I'd love to be able to educate people on this, because I'm thinking, yes, absolutely in the medical profession, but a lot of my leadership clients, my executives, not only are they expected to answer emails 24/7 because somebody across the globe, it's their noon and it's your midnight or something.
Right.
It's not just that anymore. I think it's pretty pandemic to have this 24/7 idea that, oh, sure, I can wake up in the middle of the night and answer those two emails and go back and get good sleep. But that's not how sleep works, is it?
Yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie. I mean, this is the wisdom of me being able to look back at the age I am now and look back at the decisions that I made when I was younger. And when you feel like you have sort of this invincible thing around you, or if you're listening to this podcast and you have autoimmune condition, you're not invincible. Your body's already told you that. And yet you still feel like you need to keep up with all of the energy normals out there to prove your worth. And you think that, oh, I'll just do this little thing and this little thing and this little thing. I still catch myself with that all the time. And it really is about understanding how to prioritize your own health as number one.
Wow. We need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about prioritizing our health and specifically our sleep, and any tips and ideas you have. I know my first one that I'm going to throw out there is learn to set boundaries, because we're up against a hard boundary here. We'll take this quick commercial break. We'll see you on the other side.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Sharon. And of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Saylor, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSaylor.com/radio gift. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and I'm here with Dr. Jenny Tufenkian tonight, and she's a naturopathic physician and a functional medicine educator. I don't know why I can't talk today. Anyway, my tongue is all tied up here. The wonderful thing about Jenny, she's a practicing physician for sure, and she also loves to educate and empower her peoples, her tribe. That's her thing. She just really loves to educate us about the whys. And I don't know if you're like me, community. I think you are because you hang out here. But once I know the whys and I sort of know the background, like I didn't know a bonk on the head then precipitated the next bonk on the head could possibly be a bigger reaction. That I didn't realize it was sort of cascading like that. Amazing news to me. Explains so much. That's what I love about Jenny. Now I have that deeper understanding. Mm-hmm. It's not so easy to blow off. And one of the things that for a long, long time, until I understood this idea of circadian rhythm and all of that good stuff, not to blow off my sleep. So let's talk about just some of the things that you see that you like to teach people about sleep that we should know.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize when they think about sleep is when it's easy to think about sleep starting before you go to bed. And if you're really educated about sleep, then you start thinking about sleep maybe an hour before you go to bed because you turn off your blue screens or you start your sleep routine. But the truth is, what you do when you first wake up really impacts your sleep.
Like the early morning wake up?
Exactly.
Is going to impact that night's sleep.
It's going to impact that night's sleep. So this is all about how you said it. It's involving the circadian rhythm. We really want to start planning out our sleep by starting out what we do throughout the day, how we wake up in the morning, how we move throughout the day, how we eat. All of those things are going to have huge impact on how you sleep at nighttime. So the number one important thing to do, and those of us who live in a place where it is dark, in the morning when we wake up, it's really important to get light in your eyeballs when you first wake up.
But not your phone light.
Not the phone lights. Not the phone lights. No.
I mean, how many of us know people? I've been guilty of it myself. Dark room, grab the phone. First thing in my eyeballs is that blue light.
No. No, so you have 2 options. You have the perfect option, which is the sunshine. So if you live in a place where there's sun, just go out and take off your glasses, any glasses you wear, and get some light in those eyes. And that's going to make your melatonin go down in the daytime, which is what you want. You want your melatonin to go down. It's going to help your brain feel more clear in the morning, and it's going to set your brain to understand that this is morning time right now. The other option, which I need to do quite a bit for where I live, which is I use a full spectrum light. So I have a couple of full spectrum lights in my house, and I'll turn them on and just have them on for, 5-10 minutes, at least in the morning when I'm just kind of getting ready for my day, making my celery juice, turn on the light.
So when you say full spectrum light, is that one of those SAD boxes, or
Correct.
Can we just get a light bulb that's full spectrum?
No, it needs to be it needs to say full spectrum. So one of the SAD lights, the seasonal affective disorder lights, are great. There's also a number, the same companies that make those also make reading lights, and I have those and I love them because you can program them for that full bright light. So you can look at that in the morning, but then if you want a nice reading light at night, you can tone it down. So that's my biggest, I mean, I think everybody who lives in a place that's kind of dark in the wintertime should have full spectrum lights around. It really helps your mood as well.
Okay. Well, I'm writing that down. That's got to go on my Christmas list.
I was going to say they're also really
Santa,
good Christmas presents.
bring me a full
Exactly.
spectrum light.
They're really good Christmas presents for all of you last minute Christmas people, or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate.
Oh, yes and no. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the time when my beloved gave me a vacuum. I think I'll buy it for myself.
Thanks, hon, but
yeah, exactly. A full spectrum light. How thoughtful, which is really thoughtful, but it's still kind of like in my mind a vacuum. But anyway, I digress there. Okay, so we're up in the morning. We're making I'm making my ginger tea. You're making your celery juice, and I've got my full spectrum light on. And then what impacts our sleep that night?
The other thing that impacts your sleep is how are you eating? What's your food? What's going in your food? What's going in your body for energy? So being able to have enough, making sure that you're eating the right diet for you, that you're eating foods that are not super inflammatory for your body. You're eating things that are where you're maintaining your blood sugar. It's really important. A lot of people have sleep problems because either their gut is messed up and it's bothering them, or they are having blood sugar crashes while they're sleeping.
What's your feeling about, there's been diets, I think it's kind of going out of favor now, but I know a lot of people that still do it, where it's a long period of fasting and a short period for eating during a 24-hour period.
Intermittent
fasting. I don't really know what they do. Yeah, intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to do intermittent fasting. The studies, I mean, I think that intermittent fasting has its value for people who can handle it. And why I'm saying it, what I mean is that I think a lot of people who are already stressed out, who have an imbalance in what we call the adrenal system or the hypothalamic pituitary axis, they have that system is already blown out. And for a lot of us who have autoimmune conditions, who have chronic illness, who are running under a lot of stress, either physically or emotionally or work-wise, a lot of people are really struggling with their stress response. It's maladaptive. And if you have a maladaptive stress response and then you take away food, it's going to trigger your stress response to get even more dysregulated. And you're going to, again, be shooting yourself in the foot in a whole different way. So what I find is that a lot of people jump into intermittent fasting because it's fashionable, it's faddish, it's trendy, and it sounds good. And they really end up not feeling very well afterwards. And so if you've done that and that's a sign for you, you're not ready for it yet. Now you take somebody who is already really healthy and their stress response is very well managed, then intermittent fasting has huge benefits because what you're doing is you're actually challenging the mitochondria, which are the energy power plants inside of in all of our cells. And it induces this thing called autophagy. It induces those mitochondria to kill off the ones that are sick and not functioning well. It stimulates the cells to produce new mitochondria that are healthier. It gets rid of toxins. It like triggers all kinds of amazing stuff. I mean, it's actually really, really great. There are other ways you can trigger that as well, besides intermittent fasting, which is what I recommend for people who want to get that mitochondria energy benefit, but aren't yet ready to have that whole, aren't yet ready to do intermittent fasting.
Wow. That's interesting too, because I know a lot of people that don't mention that part. Like, well, if you have any of these conditions, let's get you up to speed in other areas before we put you on something like that. That was valuable to know. Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually something I'm going to be doing a little workshop on that later. Maybe we can talk about that more if you're interested, but I'll be doing a workshop on that because I found so many people don't understand the difference, that there's like two different ways to eat right to have more energy. And you need to understand which one is right for you. So that's one of the things another one of those pieces I feel like people need to be more empowered with, you know?
Well, we don't have time to go down it here, but I think there's more than two ways to eat, actually. I mean, I'm thinking about all the different food sensitivities and all of that, but I want to stay focused on
Yeah,
the
for sure. Let's talk
understanding
about
of
sleep.
sleep right now. The one thing I have found is that in my recovery process, everything is so, oh, I don't like everything and nothing, but anyway, I'm going to use the word everything. Like, this is the way it is, but it seemed to me as the more I recovered, everything had to be very personalized to me because my body did things differently than the book said it should be doing. And I feel that way about sleep as well. So I love the idea of getting up in the morning, having the light, and then understanding where we are in our recovery process and our relationship to food. And so as we're going about the day, what else can we do to prep ourselves for a good night's sleep?
It's really important to move. The body really needs to move so that it knows that it's time to rest at nighttime. And if you're listening to this and you're in a position where you don't have the energy to do movement, or you're injured, or you're in pain, or you're sick and you're not able to move, there's still ways that you can entrain your brain to feel like it is getting that relief. There's an incredible value to just imagining that you're doing something. You get 60% of the benefit just imagining that you're going to the gym and lifting weights. But if you are able to get out and move around, movement is huge. So whether it's taking a walk, or doing some yin yoga, or getting to the gym, or whatever it is that makes your body feel good, but that has really, really very valuable for the body to be able to rest at nighttime. I think a lot of people don't realize, because we're so busy doing, and we get so tired in our daytime being busy and doing. We don't understand that these bodies were meant to be walking for hours a day. I mean, like freaking hours and hours and hours and hours. We are supposed to be moving all the time. And we function much better. All of our normal systems function much better with movement, our digestion and our breath and our sleep.
Wow. And I'm thinking about, had someone that I was chatting with the other day about their transition from working in an office to working at home. And one of their comments was, I barely move. I get from my bedroom to my office to the kitchen, bedroom to the office, the kitchen, where she said, I used to park far away in the parking lot, and that way I'd get some walking over to the office. Then I wouldn't take the elevator. I'd walk up the stairs.
Yeah.
I'd walk over to my cubicle, and instead of calling the guy down the hallway, I'd walk down to the hallway.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't do that anymore. I just sit and turn on the video conferencing, and there I am. Wow. Once again, our lifestyle. We have to make better choices.
Yeah, exactly. And but again, it's like what I've been saying is like when we begin to understand the impact of how we move and how we eat and how we think even impacts our sleep, we can begin to start making different choices throughout the day so that we can get the rest we need at night so that we can fully recharge for the next morning.
Okay, so we're coming into evening, and here's my bugaboo. We don't have to talk about it, but I'm just going to throw it out there. The problem is where I live, as you know, it's dark by 4 at this time of year, 4:30 maybe. It's really dark by 6. I find that I start yawning a couple of hours into the darkness, and I'm ready for bed in my mind, way too early.
Yeah.
If I don't want to be up even before dawn. I won't even say the crack of dawn. I'll be up way before dawn. So do we work through that darkness somehow? I mean, that realizing it's dark outside and feeling sleepy.
I mean, this is where, to your point of it needing to be individualized, this is where I'd say it's important for it to be individualized, because it depends on how your body responds. There is this whole theory that people used to have 2 sleeps in other times in history, where people would fall asleep early and then they would wake up in the middle of the night and they would do kind of mellow things. They would play music or talk or just kind of, socialize and keep kind of things mellow and quiet. And then they go back to sleep and sleep again for the rest of the night. And people were able to rest well in that system. There's also thinking that as we age, we develop more a biphasic sleep pattern where we sleep once and wake up and then a second time. And surely when I talk to a lot of my parents' friends in the retirement home, I hear this. A lot of them are up at 2 o'clock in the morning for a couple of hours if you feel good, like if you have the ability to fall asleep early, be up for a few minutes and do a few things, and it doesn't stress you out, and you can have a nice time, you can go back to sleep, and you get enough sleep in the morning. You don't have to be up at 4:30 for your babies or 6 o'clock for work, and you can sleep in enough, and you feel like you are recharged when you wake up for that second sleep, then that system probably works really well for you, and you can individualize it for your need. Now, if you're telling me that you want to go to bed at 6, you wake up at 2, and then you can't get back to sleep for the rest of the night, I'd say, no, that's not so good, Sharon. I'd say that's a problem because you're still functioning with the rest of us who are out here in the daytime.
Or attempting to, yes.
Attempting to, yes. So if it's just kind of that, oh, it's dark and drowsy, I mean, I guess I would ask a few questions. I would wonder, are you getting enough sleep that's making you that tired by 6 o'clock at night? Is the quality of your sleep good enough for you? Maybe it's not. Or do you need a nap in the day so that you can go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night and feel good? Do you need to lie down at noon for 20 minutes, half an hour to sleep so that you can then fall asleep at 9 or 10 o'clock and sleep through the night? So, really you can individualize this for your own body's needs.
Wow, I can just see that the more I learn, the more questions I have.
Ask away.
Well, you mentioned this little workshop. I will need to take a quick commercial break in a couple of minutes, and I do want to talk to you about cold and flu season. I don't want you to get away without telling us a little bit about that, because I know you're an expert in that as well. So, but do mention what is the sleep class you're giving?
Yeah, I'm doing a workshop it's on January 7th. It's 9:30 in the morning PST time. It's just 90 minutes. But this is where I'm going to be there with you live and going through so that you can craft your own ideal sleep situation. And I'm going to be laying down how it is that you can benefit your sleep and get your sleep architecture built out so it's right for you. And I also am going to be giving away the protocols that I have seen to be really helpful with my patients and with my family dealing with sleep issues. So whether it's I can't fall asleep at night, or I can't stay asleep at night, or I wake up too early in the morning, we're going to be breaking each one of those down and looking at and talking about what it is that you can look at in your own health and your own day routine to see what it is that you can shift. And supplements that it's all natural, like all natural supplements and herbs, what you should use, what you shouldn't use, all that kind of stuff. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, good. Well, your workshops are always fun, so I know that. I'm going to sign up for that one, that's for sure. Because the more we talk about sleep, the more I realize I didn't know and how individualized it is.
Yeah.
And I like this idea of being able to figure this out, because I do know that when I am rested, I do feel much better. But here's my bad habit, guys. I'm ratting myself out here. Here's my bad habit. So I get caught up on my sleep, if we can use that term, or whatever. I'm doing really good on my sleep habits for a while, and then something will happen, and I was like, oh, I'll power through this day because I'm feeling really good. And so there goes all my bad habits come right back in.
It's so easy for us to fall into those habits, and I think that's one of the challenges when you've had the past, like we both have, of pushing through, getting lots done, and putting our sleep off till later, is it's easy to fall back into that same old habit.
I'm thinking, though, I'll do it just once, but it's sort of like when I steal a cookie. I'll do it just once, and then tomorrow I want a cookie again.
I know,
so
right?
I have to train myself. No, stop that. You can't do that, Sharon. Well, at least I know somebody else is out there going, oh, no, I've started that habit all over again. Anyway, we need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk to Dr. Jenny some more. I do want to get into what we can do about the cold and flu season that's out there right now. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, "Sorry, I'm rambling," you say, "Thank you for listening." Join us at projectforgive.com, a free non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Saylor, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSaylor.com/radio gift. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm here with Dr. Jenny Tufenkian. She's a naturopathic physician and functional medicine educator. As you've been hearing, she loves to teach us exactly what we should be doing. And then at least we know we should be doing it. I try really hard. I think I have to give myself grace and space sometimes to just say, well, it is what it is. But as you've heard, Dr. Jenny is actually a thriver herself. She's had chronic fatigue a couple of times in her life, and she's gotten herself through those. And that's what fuels her passion for educating the people who come to her students and her patients, and even other physicians come to Dr. Jenny to find out about this. So before we move into cold and flu season, any final thoughts about the things we should know about getting good sleep, especially during the holiday season? I don't know. Sometimes I eat too late because I'm at an event. There's just lots of reasons I don't sleep good during the holiday season.
Well, I think you actually said it when you said you need to give yourself grace. And there's a whole piece around mindset that's really important around sleep as well. I'll be diving into that at the workshop, but I would say just, right now, if you're listening to this and you already know that you're right in the midst of holiday season and you feel like you're not eating as well and you're not sleeping and all of that, I say give yourself some grace. And just know that there is so much that you can do to improve this, and collect the information that you need so that you can then do your best, the best you can day by day, right? You don't have to be perfect, but just beginning to make an improvement can feel really, really empowering. Just beginning to make small shifts in your health.
And I always like that each day or each half day or each minute, I can choose to make a better decision.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true. It's absolutely true. And then, but once you understand which things actually do impact your sleep, if sleep is an issue for you, then you can be making better decisions all day long and get better sleep at nighttime. So.
I think that was one of the big powerful takeaways from our discussion of sleep, because I didn't think about, well, what do you mean? What I'm awake, or what's that have to do with sleep? I kept thinking like, okay, it's the ritual where I wash up and get in my PJs, etc. And when I climb in bed is important, not what I do throughout the day.
Right. Yes, exactly. Right. That's where people are really that's why the sleep rituals don't always work, because we've been going against having good sleep all day long. And then we expect this little 20-minute routine to knock us out. And we're all pretty big brain, smart people, and our brains are pretty powerful. So we want to get those brains working for us around our sleep.
Goodness. Well, I didn't even get into doom scrolling. So,
right. Well, you want to mention doom scrolling?
Yeah, let's mention doom scrolling, because I know you'll probably talk about it in your workshop too. But I've been guilty of it, and I think 99% of my friends have been guilty of it, if not guilty of it all the time. So let's talk about doom scrolling.
Yeah, I mean, doom scrolling is when you sit there and you just get lost in some dark hole.
Absolutely. You're looking through social media, or you're looking through the news feed, and you thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes to catch up with the latest, and you look up 2 hours is gone. And
I have this thing that I figured out is that if I find myself kind of looking for things that aren't really on task, it's like I'm not really looking up the latest research paper on something, or I'm not really making something happen in my day, but I'm just kind of like going down that path. To me, that's a sign of two things personally in my own personal world. It's either that I am tired, it's a sign that I'm tired, and I really just need to turn it off and rest. Like if it's daytime, take an 11-minute shavasana, take a proper nap, or if it's nighttime, I just need to go to bed. The other sign it is for me is that I need a break. Like I'm overworking and I'm just not engaged in the project that I'm on right now. And if I'm looking for distraction, then clearly I need to be doing something else. So again, it's a sign that I just need to stop and take care of myself in a better way. So if I catch myself doing that, I know it's an unproductive, unhealthy kind of half-conscious activity, or even unconscious activity. And so I try to get conscious when I catch myself there and do something different. Give myself a break or go rest.
highly addictive, if I can say that.
Oh yeah, it's got your dopamine trigger. Talk about cookies, little dopamine, beep, 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 beep. I mean, man, yeah.
I did read a study off topic, community, so off topic, but I did read a study that people are now spending more time in the bathroom than ever before, and they are blaming it that people take their telephones into the restrooms with them. And I was thinking, wow, okay,
Interesting.
the grant writer on that study. But, like, how do you explain that one? But anyway, sorry guys. Jenny's a good friend whenever I get carried away. Anyway, so I do want to talk about cold and flu season really quickly before we run out of time, because I know you have a wonderful white paper on that we can go to your website and get. However, I've got several friends in my world who don't interact with each other, and all of them have influenza A right now.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can say that word too on here. But we're going to talk about the tridemic, RSV, COVID, and a lot of influenzas. But
Yes.
I don't remember any other time that I've had that many friends down with flu at one time.
No, it's crazy. It's insane right now. I mean, I think we're still in the phase where we plan a social event and we don't know what's going to happen because somebody's going to be sick. I mean, with something, and we have to decide if we're going forward or canceling. So yeah, it's really, really high right now. I agree.
Do we do these events? I mean, I don't know. This is awful to say about some of my community or my social circle. I'm not sure that they wouldn't come if they I just thought I had a headache, instead of really like, well, I have a headache. I don't know what it could be by tomorrow, so maybe I'll just drop out and let everybody else have a nice time.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to say, but I think that's happened. I wonder if that's what happened to my friends getting it. So what are some things we can do? Are there things that we can, like my ginger tea, are there things we can do to like sort of beef our immune systems up a little bit?
There's so much you can do to beef up your immune system. And I do go into it I do have a free PDF. Please, 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 if you don't have this, or if you do have it, look at it, because in there, it's a free PDF on colds and flus. And I talk about things that you can take for certain symptoms. And I also talk about prevention, things you can do to prevent it. And in the natural medicine world, I always say, I mean, the first step of prevention, right, is getting your health foundations in place, which sleep. Yes, sleep is huge in terms of having your immune system work better, not being so inflamed, and not being so vulnerable to infections. Sugar is one of those things that eating sugar can really decrease your white blood cell production by like 40% for 5 hours after you eat a big dose of sugar. So
oh, wow.
Reducing the sugar. I know it's a terrible thing to tell people right before the holidays, but it's so true that it makes
it's good to know. I did not
Yeah.
know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So choosing a more natural sugar for your desserts, or, I also have a free PDF if you want on some healthy holiday cooking, the baking that I do, where I use maple syrup instead of sugar for my sweeteners, which is somewhat better for your immune system. But one of the things I would say for your parties and your gatherings. So there are two tips that I would love to share. One is a mindset hack, and the other one is what you can do to kind of reduce your risk of getting things in your respiratory center. So one of the ways that we get a lot of viruses is they come in through our nose or we breathe them in, right? And what we can do is we can clean those areas out. So you can do neti pots are great. Nasal lavage is great. Doing that before you go out somewhere and when you come back. Or an easier thing is you can use a nasal spray. There's one with xylitol in it that had some good studies looking at how it reduced the ability for viruses to replicate in your sinus passages. So when I'm traveling, or if I'm going to a conference and I'm going to be around a lot of people, I'm using my little spray and I'm spraying my little snoz with the xylitol spray. And then I blow my nose, and then I take an essential oil like eucalyptus or tea tree or something like that, and I literally huff the dang thing. So I put a drop on my thumb, and I sniff it up on one side, and I sniff it up on the other side. And I need to be sure that these are pure, and nothing I'm saying is meant to treat or diagnose you. I'm just giving you information about what I do for you to make good use of it. And
I just want to fill in there that the pure part is important because not all essential
Yes.
oils are created the same. So make sure
Correct.
that these are the ones that can be ingested, not for diffusing.
Exactly, because if you're shoving it in your nose, it's pretty much like shoving it in your mouth.
Yeah.
So you need to have it be the same. So it needs to be a high enough grade that you would use it internally before you put it in your nose. So very important. This is what I have been doing personally.
Right, absolutely. There are a lot of these things that aren't food grade, so make sure that they are meant for ingestion and not for cleaning or other products like that.
Yeah, but there's a mindset hack that is I love doing. And let me just say before I say that, like in the guide, I talk about all kinds of things like warming socks and how to boost your immune system and all kinds of fun things in there. So check it out. But one of the mindset hacks that I love is really using the power of your own mind if you feel like you're getting sick, and also preventing getting illness. We do have an energy body as well as an emotional body and a physical body, and tapping into this can really help our physical body stay healthier, and it can help it heal. If I feel like I am getting sick, I take my remedies. I take the handful of whatever I'm taking that's immune supportive and anti-infective. And then I also do this. I ask myself, do I want to be sick? Like I've got the sore throat and the head cold coming on. I'm like, do I want to be sick? Because sometimes you kind of do. You kind of like
check out.
I just kind of want to break. So I ask myself, and I answer it honestly. And if the answer is yes, I did want to break, then I try to make a deal. I'm like, okay, well, if I stayed well, would taking Saturday off or the weekend off, like, what do you need, girl? Like, what do you need? Like, let's take care of that. And I make a promise to myself. Like, okay, if we do that, do you still want to be sick? I'm like, no, of course not. I don't want to be sick. I just wanted to break. So then I bring in the intention of all of being healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I do something to really set that into my brain. And you can just cross your arms and cross your legs, and it's a whole brain posture, and it integrates the right and left lobes of the brain when you do that. You can just close your eyes and just be like, I am healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, until you actually feel a shift in your body. You'll feel a shift after just a few minutes or even seconds. And just doing this can really impact how it is that your body responds to an infection. I did this for the first time years ago, and I was at clinic during a really bad flu season. I felt fine in the morning, saw a whole day of patients. Around 4 o'clock, I didn't start not feeling well. Last patient at 5 took my temperature, 101.5 fever. And I knew I was out for the week, and I had full thing of patients, didn't want to change it. I was like, oh, what a nightmare. Drive in to my driveway, sat in the car. I did this routine, got myself to bed early, did it again before I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning with nothing, no sore throat, no headache, no fever, didn't get a flu that whole year. And that to me really helped me understand the power of the mind when it comes to this. So I feel like if we're running around going, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to get sick, I don't want to get sick, oh, germs, I don't want to get sick, versus really owning the power that you have to impact your own health by tapping into your energy and your emotional bodies and taking good care of your physical body, I think it's just that power that we have access to. And it's like, why not live that way? So we can choose if we want to go to the party, and we can go fully empowered, right? Because you've got your toolkit. You know what to take, you know what to do.
Well, I love that because I learned early on that the mind doesn't understand the word don't. So if I'm sitting
Right.
there, don't get sick, it's sort of like the mind doesn't understand don't run. You're supposed to say walk. And so I'm
Right.
thinking if you're sitting there, don't get sick, the mind's just going, oh, sick.
Sick.
So I'm implanting this into me. So maybe even my little mantra is I am whole and I am well and my body's functioning the way it's supposed to be. When I heard some of my friends had influenza, I was like, when did I last see them? Oh no. And I just sort of pull out my remedies and start my little thing. And
yeah, absolutely. But I'm all about people having that toolkit ready, because you never know when the first symptoms are going to hit or when you had contact with somebody. And so it's really important to already have whatever you want to use, whichever botanical products or essential oils or whatever it is that works well with your body. You want to have that in your hand, right? So that you can use it immediately. That really makes a big difference too.
Fantastic. We're just about out of time. We just have a couple of minutes left. I know we've been talking about your sleep class that's coming up. I'm going to sign up for that. And you've been talking about the cold and flu report that we can get other things. But I didn't ever mention your website. So where do we go? Everybody's like, where do I get it?
So come to the drjennytufenkian.com. So that's drjennytufenkian.com. And on the website there's a free section. On the free section, you'll find the PDFs and the recipes for delicious desserts that you want to eat this holiday. So go ahead and grab those. On the homepage, there'll also be a sign up there for the sleep workshop. So check that out. And it will be lovely to see you. And if anybody is looking for guidance with their chronic disease, I'm taking on a few new clients to work with me. So if you're interested, you can jump over to my Joyful Health website and check it out there.
Fantastic. Great. Now grab your pencil because I'm going to spell her name. And it will also be over at Understanding Autoimmune on the show page. So ready? You got your pencil? Her website is drjenny, and then here's the word Tufenkian, Tufenkian.com. Now, that'll be over at understandingautoimmune.com. Yes, thank you for the clap. I did. After all these years, I can spell your name, dear. And then it was Enjoy, ENJOY, full, FULL, health.com. So that's her other website as well. So thank you, Dr. Jenny. I always adore when you come. I love it. You're just always full of great ideas, things I've never knew. And I love that behind the scenes thing, because that motivates me more than somebody just saying, don't eat sugar. But now that you've told me what sugar does to the body for 5 hours after, I'm like, oh my goodness, well, that makes perfect sense. So it sort of reinforces that idea of somebody saying, don't do this. Now I know why I don't want to do it. Everyone, have a great week, whatever your adventures. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.